Hello everybody, welcome, my name is Aggie, and in this video I wanted to talk to you about a record that has just recently been released. The record is called Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino, and it's from a band that you may know called the Arctic Monkeys. I am a pretty big fan of the Arctic Monkeys, and the reason why I'm making this video is since the first time I listened to the record up to now, my opinion about it has changed dramatically. Like, the first time I listened to it, I had an opinion about it, but in a few listens, everything shifted like upside down. So I really thought I'd make this video even though I've never done any record reviews. This record has been talked about a lot, so I'd just love to put my opinion out there. So there we go. So basically what happened is Arctic Monkeys came back after what young people would call a hiatus, and all of a sudden at the beginning of the year they started appearing as headliners in a few festivals around Europe, and everybody was like, yo, the hell? The Arctic Monkeys is still alive? The Arctic Monkeys is coming back? So within a couple of weeks the Arctic Monkeys announced they were going to come out with a new record in May and that they were going on tour. And you can barely imagine how freaked out I was when I found out there were 2 dates in Italy, out of which one in my favorite venue in Milan. So I'm extremely happy that I managed to get the tickets for me and my best friend, and I absolutely can't wait to see them. But back to the record. So Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino was announced to be released only a few months before the day of the actual release. So no one really was prepared for what we were going to get. I believe people just had expectations about it. If you've been a fan of the Arctic Monkeys, you probably know them for their sound, for their amazing songwriting skills, and for their ability to make really solid records. So at this point, I think the average Arctic Monkeys fan kind of may have had some expectations from this record, which just came out of the blue, including me. So fast forward to the day of the release. First thing I do, wake up in the morning, download the record on Spotify, sit at breakfast and listen to the whole thing. And I have to say, I wasn't necessarily disappointed at what I was hearing, but I was definitely underwhelmed. From the very first track, I realized that it was a different turn for the Arctic Monkeys, and that what I was listening to was something pretty different from what I was expecting. So Start Treatment is the opening track, a pretty long, slow track, and then track 2 begins, and then track 3 begins, and I just thought that track 3 was basically still part 2 for how seamless the transition was and how similar they sounded to each other. I literally thought 1 Point Perspective and American Sports was the same track. At some point I checked my phone and I was like, how long is this track? The 4th track gives the name to the album, so it's Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino. A very vibey type of slow rock and roll. Again, another slow song. And then track 5 is another slow song. 4 out of 5 is another slow song. Track 6 is another slow song. And at that point, I've kind of started to skip. Because, you know, what I was really looking for was that rock and roll indie rock rush that only the Arctic Monkeys are able to give me. I was looking for that Evil Twin vibe, that Are You Mine vibe, or even some of the earlier stuff like Do Me a Favor, or If You Were There Beware, When the Sun Goes Down. And I could not find one single track that wasn't a slow song or a ballad. That really kind of made me feel underwhelmed, and that was basically the reason why I did not listen to the record for the following 4 or 5 days. So as soon as the record was released, Alex Turner did an interview with BBC Radio 1 discussing what had inspired the record both lyrically and musically, and he did say a couple of really interesting things. Alex said something that kind of made me sad. He said that the guitar has lost the ability to surprise him, pretty much. But on the other hand, he said he got a lot of ideas from the piano and from a jazzy type of style. And this does show a lot throughout the record. Like, it does show that the piano is not Alex's first instrument. It maybe does sound like Alex hasn't been playing the piano for the longest time, but nonetheless, the piano definitely is a common thread throughout the whole record, and you can definitely tell that many of the tracks were built around the piano track. This really does come through to me. My number one concern when it comes to artists and musicians is that they find the way that works the best for them to really put into art whatever is that is going on in their brains. Moreover, he also discussed the themes for the record lyrically, and he said that he was very much inspired by movies he was watching and books he was reading, specifically about science fiction and from time traveling and space traveling. And he also said that he wanted to name the record after a place, because he does feel as if records are indeed a place that you can come back to whenever you want, and that's actually pretty relatable. And there's very much, as he said, a lot of a world that he built for himself in the record, and it's also pretty autobiographical. When it comes to the lyrics, I'm going to quote a guy that I follow on YouTube. He's got a channel named AdzBrandMusic. I'm going to link it in the description, and he also made a video about Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino. He says that a lot of people have been talking about the lyrical content of the record because of how deep it is, for how much it sounds like poetry. And he also said that this kind of made him feel like back when you were studying poetry and literature in high school. And I absolutely couldn't agree more. I felt like that very much too. Like, I do want to know where the lyrics come from and what Alex is trying to say. But on the other hand, I just don't want to feel like I need to sit down and study the whole thing out. Sometimes I just want to enjoy the music, you know? So, as I said, after listening to the record for the first time, I have been skipping it entirely for the next 4 or 5 days. Until one night I got into the shower and I put some music on and I decided to play that very record. And that's the moment when I started to got the vibes a bit more and really changed my mind. I immediately thought it was a great record to take showers to, because of the really chill vibes it has. I mean, it's called Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino. What the hell was I even expecting though? The following day I was traveling to Switzerland. I listened to the record again, and boy, that's when the record really did like hit me. That was really the moment when I started to understand the record on so many different levels. I paid more attention to the lyrics, I paid more attention to the sounds, I paid more attention to the instrumental choices, I paid more attention to the song structure. I realized there were really some pieces of the songs that I didn't get to experience because I had just been skipping them because I didn't like the way they were sounding in the beginning. And that's when I realized I probably had been missing out. Like, there's that really good solo in the middle of that song, or there's that really interesting orchestral part, or like there are parts when Alex is really singing intensively. It gives you a vibe that I actually enjoyed so much. I'm going to give you a few titles of the tracks that I enjoyed the most. 1 Point Perspective is definitely the first track I've been enjoying out of the album. It's got such a calm, like, Hollywood 50s vibes. I don't know how to describe it. I was listening to it and all of a sudden I'm picturing myself being driven around in a convertible with a scarf around my face that's just blowing in the wind, and Alex Turner was of course driving. It all gave me such a calm and self-romantic vibe. Is self-romantic even a word? Can we make self-romantic a thing? American Sports was also interesting. Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino is definitely an enjoyable track. 4 out of 5 is the track that gives me the most Arctic Monkeys vibes. I found a bit of the AM vibes in that track, even though I do believe that that track is a bit too long. She Looks Like Fun is very interesting to listen to and also pretty fun, but I believe the Ultra Cheese has to be my favorite. It's such like the typical song to slow dance to, except it's pretty sad. It's really fucking sad, but it's so heartfelt and it's so warm and it's adorable, and the solo is the sweetest. So, to put it briefly, I've seen fans enjoying the record from the very first listen. I've seen fans stating that they really were loving the record and that nobody could tell them what to think of their favorite band. On the other hand, I've also seen people giving pretty harsh feedback. I've seen people saying that the record should be thrown away, together with the people who say, oh come on, it's a good record. If you've listened to the record already and you haven't really enjoyed it, I really do believe you could get to a point of really enjoying it if you just give it a couple more listens. It's definitely not a party record. Like, put it on maybe in the car when you're driving somewhere, or just put it on in a moment when you totally have time to relax a little bit and pay attention to what you're listening to. But to sum it up, if you're an Arctic Monkeys fan, I do understand why you might not love this record in the first place. What I'm trying to say is not that you have to love it or that you are going to love it. It's not a hot record. You can enjoy it without looking at all the meanings and all the lyrics and whatnot. It's definitely an enjoyable record. It's got great vibes, great Arctic Monkeys vibes. So there you have it. This is my sort of review of Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, you can leave a like down below or share it, show it to your friends, show it to your mom. Leave a comment down below, tell me what you thought of the record. Have you listened to the record? What do you think? I'd love to hear some of you. And if you enjoyed the video, you can subscribe or just stick around for some more videos. Also, if you want, you can follow me on Instagram. And I will hopefully see you soon.
Thank you, Martin.